becomes very clear because, as I said, if I buy it for $200 million, I got to sell it for $400 million. That's not $400 million in earnings or something. That's $400 million cash. It's like one of my favorite movies, Jerry Maguire, right? Show me the money, right? So this fanatical focus on cash flow is number one, okay? Number two is what I will call a prudent amount of leverage. Now, what does that mean? Well, as I tried to explain before, they're not going to put too much debt on it that it's going to go bankrupt. They'll put a prudent leverage on. What does that mean? They'll put enough debt on that then obviously will juice the return. We all know what will happen. You improve your weighted average risk adjusted after tax cost of capital by putting a certain amount of leverage. We all went through that, right? But they don't put too much on. But the reason I love this analysis, it's a great combination of 1 and 2. Now, this may bother somebody, but I'll be open. The reason they can do it is prudent leverage and not go bankrupt is they know exactly how much cash flow they're generating. And now, for those of you that work in larger companies, maybe you've seen this, it turns out, people like to admit this, but as I look at some of my friends in the audience here, most large divisions of public companies, they will tell you their P&L, line by line, broken out into 200 line items. But if you ask the average division president of a large company what his cash flow is, the expression we used to use at Baxter was MEGO, MEGO. It stands for my eyes glaze over. Because they have no idea what it was, right? Because what's cash flow? Well, there's that accounts receivable thing, but that's some, I don't know, that's some thing I get. What do you call that? You get a certain allocation. Okay, inventory, I don't know, that's manufacturing guys have got that stuff someplace. What's capital expenditure? Oh, I know what that is. That's when I have to make that PowerPoint presentation to the CFO, okay? I'll just juice the returns on the sheet, okay? No, these guys, this is an incredible focus on cash flow. They know exactly, and by the way, think about it. If you know exactly how much cash flow you're generating, you can start to figure out how much interest you can cover and be okay? Number 3, you already hinted at this one in the back there. Number 3, speed the decision making, okay? Now, this is the one, I have to admit, was the hardest one for me to personally handle because I like to think at Baxter we make decisions pretty quick. This is a whole other universe, okay? This is a whole other universe. They make decisions very quickly. And again, not to insult anybody, but in a big company, there's this habit of, we're going to bring in consulting firm, you don't know their names, I won't mention any here, we're going to bring them in for like a 6-month study. Okay, 6-month study, a couple $1 million or whatever. What does private equity do? Private equity calls the same people and they'll say, we have a study for you, and you got 3 weeks to do it. 3 weeks, we can't do it in 3 weeks. Oh, you can't? Well, here's 4 other, your competitors that will. Oh, really? I guess we'll do it, okay? So the speed of decision making is remarkable, okay? And by the way, I think they look at it as, instead of spending 6 months, we spend 3 weeks. You know what? We could be wrong, but if we're wrong, we'll correct it, okay? We're just looking at our watch, we'll correct it, and we'll move on, okay? Cash flow, prudent leverage, speed of decision making. The 4th one is alignment of incentives. All right? Now, those of us that have been in big companies, let's think about this again. All right? One of the biggest headaches we have in life, right? It's sort of like, okay, is it Eric? Okay, so Eric's one of the division presidents. I want to incentivize Eric. How do I incentivize him? Well, do I focus on sales growth? Well, yeah, maybe, but he may start giving the product away and we lose margin. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll bonus to my margin, but then he sells 1 unit, okay? And we have no sales, right? So I got all these problems, and how do I do it? Whatever. Well, then you say, well, we'll do it on like the stock price. We'll give them a stock option. But the average division president is, we have 20 divisions. I control 1/20th of it. I don't know if that's so much of an alignment. And so we end up in this big circle as to how to incentivize. Well, the incentives in private equity, I find, I didn't know much about this. It's remarkably simple, okay? It's remarkably simple. If, was it Bob? Yeah. So if Bob is the CEO, we basically say to Bob when we buy the company, hey, Bob, here's the deal, pal. You and your management team, you guys are going to get, pick a number, 10%, I'll just say 10 because it's easy. It could be 50, it's 10. So let's do this. If we buy it for $100 million, and we take it public for $400 million, and we get a gain of $300 million, 10% of $300 million is $30 million. So you want a couple guys here. So it's very, very clear. It's cash. Show me the cash. Show me the So the ability to keep things very, very simple, because everything is tied to what the returns are. All right? And we don't have to think through, how do we line up the incentives with what we want people to do. And the last one is, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I guess I would describe it as board involvement. Yeah, board involvement, I'll call it that. Now, I'm generalizing again, But there's a pretty big difference between being on the board of a public company and a private equity deal, okay? I'm generalizing, there's some exceptions. And maybe the best way I'll describe this one is to put it in the form of a little story, okay? So here's the story, okay? It turns out that Bob, well, we'll use this when you, Bob. So Bob, you're the CEO of a public company, and then we'll do it as a private company, right? So here's a little story, play with me. So Bob's running a company, and the operating margin in the company for the last 3 or 4 years has been 5%. And Bob at the board meeting says, I got to tell you guys, we're going up. Next quarter, whatever, the operating margin is going to go to 8%. Oh, that's right. All right, so that's what you said. Now the next quarter comes, and usually a week before the meeting comes out, I get the book, the famous book. And I look at it, and it was 5, but it's still 5. And I'm thinking, wait, he said it was going to 8. So, I'm a public company. I have a fiduciary responsibility. I take this seriously. I'm being paid to do this. So I call Bob. I say, Bob, help me out here, Bob. I thought this was going from 5 to 8. Yeah, Harry, I said that, but I got to explain it to you. So at the board meeting, we'll go through it. All right, Bob, this is a big deal here. Could you come? Harry, we'll talk about it and come to the board meeting. Could it be the first thing on the agenda? No, because I'm bringing in our SAP guy from Europe. HR's got a presentation, but it's on the agenda. It'll probably be toward the end. Okay, fine. Okay, so we come to the board meeting, all right? The SAP guy's talking, the HR guy's talking, I'm looking at my watch, it's almost over. Bob, let me get your attention. I'd like to know 5 to 8. And this is where Ted says, Harry, little kumbaya, pal. He said he's going to get to it, okay? He'll get to it. Well, we're out of time. Well, why don't you stick around afterwards? We talk about it. But I don't, it's sort of like half. I don't feel like we got to. Okay, now, let's replay this. Now, we're owned by private equity, okay? So, you say we're going to go from 5 to 8%. I get the board book. It's still 5, all right? Before I call you, I call 3 other guys on the board. And I say, are we missing something? I thought this went from 5 to 8. He goes, that's what he said. Okay, that's what I thought, but I better make sure. So I called you up and I said, Bob, show me the money. What's going on? Well, Harry, we'll talk about it at the board meeting next week. Oh, number one, no, board meeting's tonight. How can it be tonight? How can you get there? We'll get there. We'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there. Well, that's a problem because, the SAP guy's coming in from Europe. I have the HR guy. Bob, let me be honest with you. You're certainly not going to need the SAP guy. I don't think you're going to need the HR guy. You can decide whether you need your mother, okay? Because we have one chart. In fact, I don't even need a PowerPoint slide. We have one chart. It says 8%, 5%, 300 basis points with a question mark. Where is it? Well, I don't know how long this is going to take. We got a one-way ticket. We will take, Bob, as much time as you need. Now, the craziest part of all of this that I learned over time is in the first case, we got this thing about we got to be real polite with one another. In this case, the bizarrest part of all is that you don't mind us pushing on this. You really don't. Because the alignment of incentives between you and us, for those in statistics, is 1.0, which basically means the only way you make money is Madison Dearborn makes money, and Madison Dearborn can't make money if you don't make money, right? So this alignment of incentives, and again, slight difference, right, is that in a public company, as some of you may know, you get a board fee to be on the board, okay? Nice board fee. Interestingly enough, in private equity, you may get a board fee, but the main benefit of a private equity board is you invest your own money. So every time I'm on one of these, I'm investing my own money. So when I show up, I'm not just showing up for lunch, okay? In fact, I tease all the guys, the CEOs of my companies, I show them a picture of my 5 children. I said, I want all these 5 to go to college. But the only thing that's stopping them is your performance. Right? What part of this are you struggling with, okay?